My mother-in-law is a devout Buddhist. She refuses to kill any living creature and forbids any meat in the house. Pregnant with twins, a boy and a girl, I became malnourished from a long-term vegetarian diet. As I neared delivery, my mother-in-law even threatened suicide to stop me from going to the hospital. In the end, I gave birth at home and died from massive blood loss due to exhaustion. My mommy's boy husband, under her arrangement, soon brought in a crazy stepmother for the children. Eventually, my daughter was driven insane and committed suicide by jumping into a river. My son went on a rampage with a machete and was shot dead by the police. When I opened my eyes again, I found myself back 1 week before the birth. This time, without hesitation, I called my best friend. I knew she would come save me, even if we hadn't spoken in 5 years. Chapter 1. Elena didn't ask a single question. She just said she was on her way. Before I could even hang up, my mother-in-law rushed in and snatched the phone out of my hands. Because of that, I didn't notice that just 1 second before my call, a large sum of money had mysteriously entered my bank account, and a message from Elena retracted before I could read it. I told you phones have radiation, and you're still playing with it. Jonathan, take her phone and keep it away. My mother-in-law glanced at my belly with a hateful glare. I don't want my precious son raising 2 freaks. Jonathan quickly took the phone from her hand and looked at me. Yeah, listen to mom. No more phone. Come on, let's eat. Seeing a whole table of vegetarian dishes made me feel even more nauseous, and I rushed to the bathroom to throw up. My mother-in-law's cursing followed close behind. Most women gain weight during pregnancy, but I was already skin and bones. In my previous life, it was due to severe malnutrition, along with my mother-in-law forbidding me from going to the hospital, that I died during childbirth. Thinking of that, I stopped wasting my breath and went back to my room to pack my things. Soon, Jonathan came in holding a can of protein powder. Sweetheart, if you don't want to eat, at least the 2 little babies in your belly need some nutrition. Be good. Mom told me to bring this to you specially. He handed over the can as he spoke. I glanced at it and moved even faster. Do you not recognize the words "not suitable for pregnant women"? I told your mom 6 months ago that this was expired. She didn't get it. Can't you read either? With that, I snatched his phone out of his bag, grabbed my suitcase, and headed for the door. Jonathan thought I was just throwing a tantrum and tried to stop me. Mom said it's okay even if it's expired. It's still nutritious. I raised my hand to slap him, but I swung too hard and smashed the phone on the floor. My mother-in-law came to try and persuade me. I picked up the phone and was still heading out when Jonathan got angry. Helen, don't be ungrateful. My mom was already being so humble, and you're still acting up. Where is your sense of manners? She's experienced. You should just follow her lead. Why are you being so unreasonable? Just then, a red Porsche pulled up in front of the house. A woman wearing sunglasses got out and rushed toward me. A long-lost smile finally returned to my face. I knew it was Elena coming to rescue me. Of course, that drew the attention of both mother and son, but they always looked down on rich people anyway. So young and already clinging to a sugar daddy? Shameless. Elena ignored my mother-in-law's snide remark, smiled at me, and took my suitcase. Helen, I'm here to take you home. After 5 years apart. Hearing those words made my tears flow instantly. When Jonathan saw someone trying to take me away, he rushed forward and grabbed my suitcase. Helen, this woman clearly isn't a decent person. Don't go with her. He had no idea that Elena and I had known each other for 28 years. If it hadn't been for him, Elena and I would have never lost contact. When Jonathan refused to let go of my suitcase, Elena simply released her grip. Forget it. Helen, I'll buy you a new one. Then she grabbed my hand and pulled me into the car. Jonathan immediately stepped in front of the vehicle. Helen, don't go with her. I'm your husband. I have to take responsibility for you. As soon as the words left his mouth, Elena opened the sunroof and shouted, Arms akimbo. WTF. Did you just call her Helen? Get the hell out of the way and stop blocking my path. Then she tossed the divorce papers out the car window. Sign them. Pronto, or I'll go straight to your factory boss and have you fired. I've got plenty of sponsors, don't test me. Hearing that, my mother-in-law quickly rushed forward and dragged Jonathan away. Jonathan, This job was something your father spent his whole life fighting for. Don't throw away your father's efforts over someone irrelevant. My mother-in-law really had a way with words. As soon as she finished speaking, Jonathan picked up the divorce papers and stepped aside. Seeing this, Elena smiled at me and started the car. In the rearview mirror, the silhouettes of that mother and son pair gradually disappeared into the dusty horizon. And with that, my nightmare finally came to an end. Chapter 2. Soon, Elena drove up to a beautiful villa and handed me a set of keys. Seeing my hesitation, she took off her sunglasses and raised an eyebrow at me. You didn't seriously think I was some rich guy's sugar baby, did you? Relax, everything here. I earned it myself. Every cent is clean, and every cent includes a share that belongs to you. I shook my head frantically. I knew she was capable of it. She smiled and pushed open the front door. As I looked up, everything before me felt so familiar. I realized Elena had decorated the house exactly according to the way I once described it to her. The thought made my nose tingle with emotion once again. Elena and I were both orphans. We grew up together in the orphanage, relying on each other. To call her my best friend doesn't do it justice. We were more like sisters. During our senior year in college, Elena went abroad on business. By chance, I met Jonathan, and after falling for his sweet talk, I ended up marrying him. When Elena found out how impulsively I'd gotten married, she scolded me like there was no tomorrow. Out of spite, I moved in with Jonathan right after graduation. As my life gradually worsened, I became too ashamed to contact her. In my previous life, I never saw her again, not even before I died during childbirth. Seeing me feeling down, Elena quickly pulled me into her arms. It's okay now, Helen. From now on, I've got your back. Then she dragged me to the hospital for a checkup and to reserve a delivery room. She even booked an entire floor at a postpartum recovery center just for me. But when we returned to the villa after handling everything, we found Jonathan waiting for us. Seeing us, and the grand villa, he looked visibly uneasy. Hello, ma'am. I'm sorry. I didn't realize who you were before. My apologies. But my mom still insisted I come bring Helen back. She's about to give birth. She shouldn't be running around. Looks like Jonathan wasn't as clueless as he seemed. He had already figured out who Elena was. He reached out to grab my hand, but I slapped it away. I'm not going back. Just sign the divorce papers already. Jonathan remained pitifully submissive. Helen, look. Elena clearly doesn't have experience with pregnancy. She doesn't know how to take care of you. You'd better hurry up and go back to your mom. Apologize nicely. She won't hold a grudge and will take good care of you. I looked at the postpartum center contract I just got, then sneered. What if I want to eat chicken? Is your mom going to butcher it for me? Jonathan looked awkward. How about this? Whatever you want to eat today. I'll take you to a restaurant and let you eat your fill. But once you come home, you have to stop giving mom a hard time. Elena couldn't take it anymore. Let him go back to his mommy then. She pulled me inside and slammed the door shut behind us. Chapter 3. For the next few days, things were peaceful. Elena and I felt like we were back to our old days, depending on each other to get by. That was until Jonathan and his mother showed up at the villa. We weren't planning to open the door, but I started bleeding, while Elena was scrambling to gather my things. We were blocked by Jonathan and his mom. It was Jonathan's mother, Monica, who spoke first. Jonathan isn't signing the divorce agreement. We looked into it. This villa is under Helen's name, but you didn't include that in the divorce terms. That's not acceptable. She folded her arms arrogantly, clearly waiting for us to beg. I looked up at Elena. She didn't say anything. It was true. The house was in my name, and I knew exactly what they were planning. If they actually went to court, they could walk away with a few million. At this point, I didn't care about working at that small factory anymore. Just thinking about it made me clench my fists. No matter what, I couldn't let them get away with this. I was about to speak when Elena interrupted me. Trying to take premarital assets too? You've really got some nerve. Go ahead and sue if you want. I'll see you in court. No wonder Elena was so confident. I later found out that this villa had been her birthday gift to me 5 years ago. But before she could tell me, I'd secretly married Jonathan behind her back. Elena didn't waste time arguing. She simply called security to throw them out, and rushed me to the hospital. When the doctor said my condition wasn't good, She immediately requested an emergency C-section. 2 hours later, I slowly opened my eyes. The first thing I saw was Elena walking toward me, tearfully holding one of the babies. Helen, look, she looks just like you. She spoke gently, wiping away her tears. I gave her a weak smile and softly said thank you. If it hadn't been for her, I might have ended up like my past life, forever separated from my babies. But to my surprise, she replied that she should be the one thanking me. Before I could ask why, she handed the baby over to the nanny and stepped out to take a phone call. She was gone a long time, so long that I drifted off again before she came back. Chapter 4. During my postpartum recovery. Thanks to Elena's careful planning, both the babies and I were well cared for, but Elena was visibly thinner. I tried to persuade her not to sacrifice so much rest for us, but she always brushed it off, still rushing back and forth between work and the postpartum center. One night, I couldn't bear it anymore and insisted she rest in the other room. She looked at the 2 sleeping babies, then at me, eyes filled with affection. I can't bear to. If I fall asleep, I won't be able to see you all. Hearing that made my heart uneasy, so I comforted her. Don't worry, we're not going anywhere. Then come sleep with me. Elena hesitated, worried she'd disturb me, but I pretended to be annoyed. If you don't sleep, I won't sleep either. In the end, she gave in. Soon, her steady breathing came from beside me, but I was now wide awake. With the bond Elena and I had built over so many years, I could tell she was hiding something from me. I planned to look into it the next day, hoping to find some clues, but just then, Jonathan obediently showed up with the signed divorce papers. I knew they'd figured it out. He wouldn't get a single cent from the house. Now, he was here saying he just wanted to see his children. Elena, clearly displeased, refused to let him upstairs. I need to contact more lawyer friends ASAP, see if there's any legal way to revoke his visitation rights. Just imagining those 2 precious babies being kissed or held by him, having to call him dad someday, makes me sick. Watching Elena's face twist with disgust, Monica's words to Jonathan after the kids' tragic deaths in the previous life suddenly echoed in my mind. If this was true, then Jonathan truly had no right to see the children. With that in mind, I told Elena to let him in. Elena didn't want to see Jonathan at all, so she went to another room. When Jonathan saw me, he seemed a bit guilty. Helen, even though we're divorced now, you can rest assured, I'm still the father of these kids. I'll fulfill my responsibilities. After saying that, he took out 10,000 yuan and tried to hand it to me. If Elena had been here, she definitely would have stopped me. But I had another use for that money, so I took it and poured Jonathan a glass of water. He thanked me for understanding his feelings as a father. After finishing the water, he reached to hold the children, but I blocked his way. They're my children, without my permission. You can't touch them. Jonathan looked confused. Helen, they're my kids too. What gives you the right to stop me? Hearing that, my smile grew wider. I leaned in close to his ear and whispered, whether or not they're really yours, you might want to ask your mother about that. Jonathan thought I was just angry at Monica and started cursing again. Soon, the floor supervisor came in after hearing the commotion. What's all this shouting about? Don't you know new moms and babies need peace and quiet? Escort him out, he's not allowed back in next time. And so, Jonathan was once again dragged out. Meanwhile, I took the 10,000 yuan and the glass he drank from, and contacted the paternity testing center. Chapter 5. A few days later, the test center sent back the report. Seeing the conclusion on the paper, a chill crept through my heart. As expected, Jonathan wasn't the father. Elena noticed the heavy expression on my face and asked what was wrong. I handed her the report directly. After reading it, she gave me a thumbs up. You're amazing, even a fake paternity test you managed to pull off. But seeing how serious I looked, her voice trailed off until she eventually choked back a sob, because she realized it was real. Helen, what kind of life have you been living all these years? Why didn't you contact me earlier? I smiled gently at her. It's okay, it's all in the past now. Just as I finished speaking, Jonathan, still unwilling to give up, showed up at the door again with chicken soup, trying to force his way in. Chapter 6. This time, Elena confidently blocked Jonathan at the door. Jonathan tried to threaten her with legal action, but Elena simply smacked the DNA test report in his face. "Read it!" Jonathan reluctantly glanced at it, then looked at me, face turning ashen. "Helen, you really have your tricks. You even managed to get a fake paternity test? Or was it that you cheated on me and had those two bastards with another man?" Seeing the look on his face, I knew he hadn't asked Monica about any of it. Well then, I'd have to be the one to tell him. "You only know the twins were conceived through IVF. But what you don't know is, your sperm was completely non-viable, all dead. It was Monica who went behind our backs and got free donor sperm from the hospital. She even lied to me, said I was the one with the problem, and tricked me into signing all the forms in secret. Do you know why Monica didn't want me giving birth at the hospital? Because everything was recorded there. If I went, the truth about the kids would come out." He looked shocked. So I continued. "Looking back, how stupid was I? Huh? But I guess it turned out all right in the end. Now, biologically and legally, these kids have nothing to do with you. And after all, Monica is your mother. Everything she did was for your sake, right? Think about it. If you'd known you were infertile, how devastated you'd be." At that, Jonathan dropped the chicken soup he'd brought. It spilled everywhere. He stammered, trying to explain himself, then turned and left in a panic. This time, he'd definitely go and confront Monica. Just thinking about Monica's reaction made me want to laugh. Sure enough, just as I got my repaired phone back, Monica started calling nonstop. I ignored her. Then it was Jonathan calling. Seeing the phone screen flash repeatedly, Elena simply shut the phone off. "I bought you a new phone. Got you a new SIM too. They won't bother you again." Then she turned to me with a curious look. "Helen, how do you know all this?" I couldn't bring myself to tell her what I experienced in my past life, so I just said I overheard it by accident. Seeing her still a bit doubtful, I smiled and pulled her closer. My former mother-in-law's secrets don't end there. After the twins' 1-month celebration, we moved back into the villa from the postpartum center. Elena said we had to celebrate properly and hired chefs and assistants to prepare a banquet for the occasion. Just as everything was ready and the ceremony was about to begin, Monica showed up again to cause trouble. When we didn't open the door, she stood outside cursing loudly, said I was a jinx who drove a wedge between her and her son, said I made up lies to ruin their happy life, said Jonathan hadn't been home for almost a week after learning she secretly swapped the sperm. If you ruined my life with lies, don't expect your life to go well either. Starting today, I'm camping right here at your doorstep. I'll shout every day. Let everyone see what an unfilial daughter-in-law you are. She was about to keep yelling, but I opened the door. She thought I was coming to beg for forgiveness. But the next second I said something that made her go mad. You swapped the sperm behind our backs. And honestly, I should be thanking you for saving me from such a huge mess. Oh, and by the way, not only are my kids not part of your family, but Jonathan isn't even your husband's biological son. Is he? Auntie, tell me, after you die, do you think the Buddha you worship every day will forgive you? At that, Monica visibly trembled. The prayer beads she always wore slipped from her hand and scattered across the floor. You're spouting nonsense again. Be careful or the Buddha will punish you and your children too. I didn't waste words with her. I pulled out photos taken by a private investigator and tossed them in front of her. In the photos, she was eating and strolling together with the man from next door. Monica sneered when she saw them. What do these photos prove? I'm a widow. He's a widower. Who can stop us? I stuffed the photos into her pocket, then pulled out another paternity test report. This time, she was truly speechless. Chapter 7. Where did you get all of this? Monica wasn't stupid. She knew a paternity test required samples from both parties. I picked up the prayer beads from the floor and placed them back in her hand. You know Master David, right? He said it was you who brought him the hair and nail clippings of the neighbor and Jonathan. Said you even begged him to help sever the father-son bond between them in this life. Oh, and by the way, Master David also has another job. He's a private investigator. As soon as I said that, Monica's face turned ashen. She knew her secret was out. I thought this would make her back down, but in the next second, she suddenly grabbed a fruit knife from the table and pointed it at the cradle. If you dare tell Jonathan anything, I'll end this baby right now. The The baby burst into loud wails. Elena panicked and begged me not to say anything. Looking at Monica, who still showed no remorse, I sighed deeply. If that's how she wanted it, then like in my past life, I'd let someone else tell Jonathan. I promised her we wouldn't say anything, on the condition that she never appear before us again. She agreed and finally lowered the knife. If you tell Jonathan, I'll die and take you all with me. The moment she finished her threat, we heard Jonathan's voice at the door. Panic flashed across her face. She quickly hid the knife in her bag and rushed over to kneel in front of me. Helen, I know I was wrong. Please don't tell Jonathan. I wronged his father. I wronged Jonathan. I wronged you. Please. I'm begging you. She made a move as if to kowtow to me. Helen, I will never disturb you again. Never again. I knew she was now putting on a show for her son. I didn't intend to pay her any attention. But Jonathan suddenly rushed in and slapped me across the face. You *TCH. What did my mother ever do to you that you torment her like this? After saying that, he went to help Monica, who was kneeling on the ground, to her feet. Elena couldn't bear to see me suffer such humiliation and immediately lashed out in a frenzy. Fortunately, Jonathan didn't dare to hit Elena back. He could only cover his face and glare at us. Seeing her son once again resort to violence for her sake, Monica was extremely satisfied and even shot me a provocative smile. Then she hypocritically pulled Jonathan back. Jonathan, stop hitting. It's Mom's fault. I came to apologize to Helen. I shouldn't have made decisions on my own and given her these 2 children. Heaven sees everything. Just take me and these 2 children away. It's all my sin. Seeing Monica's submissive demeanor, Jonathan felt even more that I was the one making things difficult for her. Helen, ultimately, it's my fault. I apologize to you. If you have any issues, come at me. Don't make things hard for my mom. Rest assured, after today, we won't have any more involvement with you. After speaking, he pulled Monica to leave. Monica was worried I couldn't hold back and would expose her deeds. As she walked, she pointed at my 2 swaddled children and the knife in her bag. Elena kept me and the 2 children protected in her embrace until the 2 of them were completely out of sight. Afterwards, Elena tenderly rubbed my face, and I gently wiped her hands. Looking at the mess all over the floor, we exchanged a smile. At this point, the full moon ceremony began smoothly, and our lives were about to embark on a new chapter. Chapter 8. Now I had finally rid myself of the nightmare from my past life. But Elena's health was visibly deteriorating. Compared to when I saw her 2 months ago, she had lost at least 10 pounds. Eventually, I found a medicine bottle in the trash she hadn't had time to throw away. When I looked it up online, I was shocked to discover it was a cancer drug. I also realized that 2 months ago, Elena had transferred 10 million yuan to my account. These days, Elena often handed over things to me, casually or intentionally. Suddenly, it hit me, she was preparing for the end. Realizing this, I couldn't hold back anymore. I locked myself in the bathroom and cried my heart out. That night when Elena came home and saw my swollen red eyes, she just assumed I had remembered something from the past. During dinner, she mysteriously said she wanted to take me to meet someone. I knew this was another arrangement she was making for me. Choked with emotion, I agreed, but only on the condition that from now on, I sleep next to her every night. She hesitated but agreed. That night, I could feel her body trembling from pain. Soon, she rushed into the bathroom and threw up violently. I asked her what was wrong, and she replied she must have eaten something bad earlier. I didn't dare to speak again, only biting down hard on my own fist. After several rounds of agony, she finally fell back asleep. By moonlight, I saw that her once thick, shiny hair had become noticeably thin. I couldn't sleep anymore. I got up and sat at the computer, contacting medical specialists at major hospitals. Very soon, one of them agreed to meet at a coffee shop. Coincidentally, it was the same cafe where Elena had arranged to meet someone with me. It was perfect, since Elena had always been reluctant to go to hospitals. To my surprise, the person Elena wanted me to meet turned out to be the biological father of the twins. Watching her patiently introduce the man to me, I bit down hard on my lip to stop myself from crying. She said the man didn't plan on ever getting married, which was why he had donated his sperm. He seemed understanding and polite, even when Elena spoke so frankly. He wasn't angry at all, just smiled at me gently. Then Elena remembered to introduce him by name. "Oh right. This is Dr. Leo. He works at a well-known hospital." After she finished, she pointed to me. "She's the mother of the twins, Helen." As soon as the words left her mouth, Leo and I both widened our eyes in shock, staring at each other, because he was the very doctor I had contacted for Elena. Before I could speak, Leo beat me to it. "So, the children's mother has cancer?" Elena suddenly turned to look at me, then quickly averted her eyes with guilt. I gently tugged her hand and said softly, "You know better than I do, Dr. Leo is an expert in this field. Let's give it a try, okay?" At this point, Elena realized I had found out about her illness. She no longer tried to hide it and instead burst into tears in my arms. "Helen, I'm dying. I don't want to leave you." Leo, seeing us both crying, didn't interrupt. He waited patiently. Eventually, Elena calmed down enough to ask, "Stage 3 stomach cancer, is it still treatable?" Leo adjusted his glasses. "Send me the full report. I'll work out a treatment plan tonight." Elena still averted her gaze, refusing to speak, so I hardened my tone and said, "Elena, if you don't get treatment, you'll die very soon. When the kids grow up, I won't even mention you to them. I'll forget you too. Maybe I'll be so overwhelmed. I'll go back to Jonathan." Elena panicked. "Helen, I left enough money for you and the kids. Don't go back to him." I turned away, pretending to be upset. "Not only will I go back, I'll use your money to support him." The next second, Elena, still fuming, burst into laughter and started wrestling with me. "Helen, don't you dare. If you use my money on that mama's boy, I swear I'll come back to haunt you." Laughing, I pulled her into a hug and turned to Leo. "I'm counting on you, doctor." He nodded at me with solemn sincerity. But just as we were walking out of the cafe, we ran into Jonathan and Monica arguing at the entrance. Seeing me, Jonathan immediately rushed forward. "Helen, perfect timing. Help me talk to my mom. I've thought it over. I just can't let you go. Don't worry. I'll be waiting for the day you change your mind." As he spoke, he reached out to take my hand. Before he could touch me, Elena shoved Leo forward. When Jonathan saw him, his face turned stormy. "Helen, are you that desperate? Barely out of postpartum and already out here looking for men." He wanted to keep talking, but I cut him off coldly. "He's the biological father of the twins." Jonathan froze mid-sentence. The words caught in his throat as his face turned red with embarrassment. Monica, standing beside him, quickly pulled him back and apologized to me. "Helen, I'm so sorry. I'll take him away right now." Following her gaze, I noticed a woman sitting inside the cafe, clearly waiting. "A blind date?" I asked. Chapter 9. Monica nodded. I let out a soft sigh and said gently, "Auntie, if Jonathan doesn't like her, don't force it. He needs to learn to make his own choices." Though I meant well, Jonathan immediately flew into a rage. "Helen, you just can't stand to see me and my mom getting along. My mom doesn't need advice from an outsider like you." With that, he dragged Monica into the cafe. Watching the woman sitting across from them, I let out a quiet laugh. I had done my best. If they still insisted on walking into that pit of fire, there was nothing I could do. Meanwhile, Leo devised a treatment plan for Elena with a 60% success rate. If it worked, she could live at least another 5 or 6 years. Elena joked, "That's enough time for the kids to remember me." I knew she had finally agreed to go through with it. Who would have thought that on the day of her surgery, we'd run into Jonathan at the hospital? Leo explained that Elena had a rare blood type and needed to have blood ready in case of severe bleeding. Jonathan, overhearing, immediately rolled up his sleeve and offered, "I have a matching blood type. I'll donate." Elena was horrified. She refused flat out. "I'd rather wait another day." "What's one more day? If I get even a drop of that mama's boy's blood in me, I'll die of disgust." With that, she tried to pull out the 4-needle and leave the hospital. Leo and I couldn't talk her down, so we politely declined Jonathan's offer. Jonathan, clearly hurt by the rejection, muttered bitterly, "Right. Our blood is too dirty, not worthy of Elena. Mom, stop hiding, come out. They don't appreciate your kindness anyway. As expected, Monica slowly stepped out from behind the wall, looking awkward and embarrassed. So Jonathan wasn't acting out of any genuine goodwill, this was just another one of Monica's schemes. Seeing that calculating look on her face, I knew exactly what she was planning, offer us a favor now, only to use it as leverage against us later. Auntie, I said with a faint smile, don't worry, I meant what I promised you, I won't go back on my word. But what about what you promised me? That you'd never come back to disturb us? Why couldn't you keep that part of the deal? Monica's face immediately turned pale. No, it's not like that. We were really just passing by. We came to the hospital with Fiona for her appointment. It's just a coincidence we ran into you. Fiona, of course, was the woman from the cafe. At that moment, a smug grin crept across Jonathan's face. Oh, right. Fiona and I are getting married soon. If Elena's surgery goes well, you're welcome to come to our wedding banquet. Hearing that, Elena nearly stepped forward to punch him again, but I quickly grabbed her arm and shook my head. Instead, I smiled sweetly and offered my congratulations. May you have many children and grow old together. Then I playfully covered my mouth, as if I'd said too much by accident. Jonathan, left without a comeback, looked awkward and quickly dragged Monica away. As I turned back around, I saw Elena laughing so hard she nearly bent over. At that moment, she didn't look like someone facing surgery at all. Chapter 10. It seemed heaven had finally opened its eyes. Elena's surgery was a success. Given her physical condition, she gradually handed over control of the company to me after being discharged. By now, I was fully capable of running it on my own. As for her, she had perfected the art of childcare. The kids adored her, sticking to her like glue and calling her Mommy Elena. One day, the twins were fussing to watch TV. I turned it on for them, but a news segment instantly caught my attention. The anchor was reporting a bizarre incident from a nearby town. A woman with severe mental illness had been triggered again after feeling wronged. Whenever she felt mistreated, she would lash out, screaming, hitting, cursing, no matter who was on the receiving end. This time, she had exposed her mother-in-law's affair with the old man next door. Her husband, unable to bear the humiliation, waited for the house to be empty before jumping into a river and ending his life. The old man, his supposed lover, tried to save him, but the current was too strong. Both drowned. When the mother-in-law received the news, she fainted from shock, but when she regained consciousness, she acted like nothing had happened. She even went to the market, bought an old hen, and made chicken soup for her daughter-in-law. While they were drinking the soup, the mother-in-law suddenly collapsed, foaming at the mouth. It turned out she had mixed rat poison into the soup, intending to die together with her daughter-in-law. Yet, the woman survived. No one had known that she was pregnant, and her severe morning sickness had saved her life. Moments after drinking the soup, she vomited it all back out. In the end, the authorities decided to institutionalize her in a psychiatric hospital, for now, considering her pregnancy. As the anchor transitioned to the live footage, I stared at the blurred-out image on the screen. Even with the mosaic over her face, I recognized her immediately. She was the woman Jonathan had married after me, the one who tormented my children in the last lifetime. Elena, seeing me frozen in shock, immediately understood who the dead people were. She hugged me tightly, pulling the children in with us. Helen, it's okay, she whispered gently. You tried to warn them, they just didn't listen. I looked at the two little darlings on the couch, then at Elena, and finally, I broke down in sobs. If not for Elena in this lifetime, the ones lying cold and dead would have been me and my children. On the twins' 18th birthday, Elena passed away. Leo, following her arrangements, stayed by my side to help me organize her funeral. As I sobbed uncontrollably, Leo gently patted my shoulder. Helen, we did all we could. So did Elena. Choking on my tears, I said, I know, but I can't bear to lose her. What am I supposed to do now, without her? If not for her, the kids and I wouldn't be alive today. Leo's eyes were red too. He didn't try to stop me from crying, he just stayed with me. After the ceremony, he handed me a letter from Elena. In it, she recalled all the small memories we shared with her, the moments with me, with the children. She wrote that it was we who gave her a reason to keep living. It was us who helped her find meaning again. At the end of the letter, she wrote, "Helen, you always said I saved you from the fire, but if you hadn't called me that day, I wouldn't have made it. Right before I cut my wrist, I wired you 10 million and sent a message, asking why you left me without a word. But the moment after I hit send, your call came in. At that moment, I couldn't bear to die anymore. Later, I found out you were also struggling, so I made it my mission to help you get justice. And somewhere along the way, I found happiness again. Helen, thank you. Thank your children. Thank you for giving me another chance at life." When I finished the letter, I stood there frozen. I realized, when I died in childbirth in my past life, Elena had already taken her own life. And that phone call? It didn't just save me. It saved both of us.